I think without RDI, I will never target specific time to sit down, put a video and talk. And actually, to the recent years, sometimes the talking goes on beyond the camera, where more deeper things are shared, more heartfelt thoughts are being expressed. I believe that all these earlier work as an RDI guide, mentor and apprentice, it has its value in preparing us for this lifetime of connection.
Welcome to Shared Steps, the RDI Journey. I'm Genevieve. Here we explore real conversations and meaningful insights about supporting neurodivergent children and families. In this episode, I'm talking with Chiern Chieh, a mother of 3 boys, 2 of whom have been through the RDI program. She brings such an honest and hopeful perspective. Hearing from a parent who has lived the day-to-day realities, the ups and downs, and the long-term growth, it's something many families tell me they appreciate. Her story reminds us that progress isn't always loud, but it's powerful. Let's dive in.
Hi, Chiern Chieh.
Hi, Jen. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you for joining us today. So let's go back to the beginning for a moment. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what life was like before you discovered RDI.
That would be quite a long time ago.
Yeah, because for you, 2 of your boys went through RDI, so it would be quite different for each one. Maybe we start with the oldest.
I think for Joshua, that would be 20 years ago. I remember that was the time where the school traumatized him because they don't believe he has autism and they were very hard on him to manage his behavior. He got traumatized and he was afraid of adults. Yes, and that was when I started to approach you for help to see what can we do. And you introduced me to RDI.
Maybe you can share a little bit about what were some of the behaviors that the schools struggled with.
I think one of the key issues was that Joshua was quite clingy to me. For some reason, he does not readily go to school, probably because the environment was too dynamic for him. And the school was not really prepared to make accommodations for him. So he would have the need to stick to the same chair, the same people around him, and he need to read the same books. So because he was highly verbal, the school did not believe that he has autism. And they labeled him as a highly manipulative child who is too smart for his own good. I still remembered that conversation with the teacher. So when he did not want to leave me one morning, they dragged him by force in front of the whole school. After that, Joshua broke down emotionally. He was not able to go back to any school for quite a while.
Maybe tell me a little bit about your second son.
We sensed that he had autism. And after I talked to you, you said I could just start some kind of RDI. And the very basic of RDI I knew at that time was to start that guide and apprentice relationship. So we did the walks, we did the holding hands, we did mini challenges, and all these came in extremely critical when he had his first breakdown. And again, this was due to the school because they overwhelmed him with sensory challenges. And when he broke down, he had zero confidence in himself. Not only was he extremely rigid, his sensory went haywire, and he was so sensitive to sounds. Neither was he able to make any decision on his own. I became his only crutch. I remember that time he was like latched onto me for 24 hours a day. Because we already started RDI, we had to take it to the next level. There had to be more walks. I remember I had to stand with him 1 hour in front of the lift because he wants to do his repetitive actions of watching the lift. And he take the lift go down and take the lift go up. And I said, no, it's only 2 stories down. You can walk down because that was the car park. And he refused. I held on to him. He pulled, I held on, and we did that for 1 hour before he realized mom is not budging and he has to follow me. But of course, once we overcome that, things were easier. And then we start to build on the challenges. Mom disappeared for 2 hours. Mom disappeared for 3 hours. And we even went to the preschool that you had. Mom disappeared for 3 hours. And mom had 3 hours on her hand. I remember not knowing what to do with the 3 hours. He started first, but he went into a very deep trauma. And then we had to use RDI to work with him for quite a few months.
You know, for both your children, given that they had both experienced trauma, you actually became their safe space.
I would think that is right to say so. And because of RDI, we had established that channel of communication. For my older one, that will be more so because he was quite verbal. And with RDI, he is able to share perspectives with me. And I will model for him. And through that, he will learn that I have different perspectives. So that continued for at least 2 years, I think, where we had a lot of conversations type of RDI, where I will frame the conversation and then we will model. That became very important when he started primary one because he had a lot of challenges. The school was very difficult for him and he sometimes talked about wanting to hurt himself. So that daily conversations with him was critical. That's why the final 2 years was a lot about using the relationship we had already established to continue to support him through. 2 years later, when he graduated, even the school officers are not able to tell who is the one with autism in the class. And that was the best milestone.
That is true. What about Joe? What was his experience like as you moved through RDI?
Joseph actually did RDI far, far longer. He had to deal with a lot more basic milestones. And I remember that included things like even reading people's expressions and even more basic things like understanding your own body emotions, what it feels like. So we had to do countless sessions where we analyze, we talk, I exaggerated how I feel. Remember those words? Face is very hot, my heart beating so much that it hurts, and I'm so upset that, here was, all that kind. Now I cannot remember the details to the extent that Joshua asked me why I speak in such a strange way. And I remember we did that particular objective for more than a year, talking in a very exaggerated way. But the breakthrough came when Joseph, who was going through bullying in school, came home and told me, Mom, my heart hurts. Yeah, that is pain. It's squeezed. And I realized that all that 1 year of exaggerated speaking finally penetrated, or probably it went in earlier than I thought. Now it came out on its own expression, and that was really, really comforting to know. And I don't think that's possible if we did not spend those weekly time doing the videos, whether it's to please you or whether it's for him. Sometimes I cannot tell what's the difference, but I just doggedly do because I know at the end of it, something will be good. That was fantastic when he said that. And it's not possible if we didn't have that weekly sessions of talking, of regulating together, doing things together. And that is the aspect which RDI facilitated for us. I think without RDI, I will never target specific time to sit down, put a video and talk. And actually, to the recent years, sometimes the talking goes on beyond the camera, where more deeper things are shared, more heartfelt thoughts are being expressed. I believe that all these earlier work as an RDI guide, mentor and apprentice, it has its value in preparing us for this lifetime of connection.
It's interesting you mentioned that word, lifetime of connection, because that's, I think, one of the more significant things that I see with you and your sons. I mean, whilst there can be ups and downs, as in any family and any relationships, the amazing thing is that I see them conversing with you, having those conversations, which sometimes is not all that common, even though we feel it should be.
Yes, and though sometimes it takes place in weird hours, past midnight, and it even spill on to my third boy, who is not doing RDI, but that conversations, the way the family interacts, has changed. And even Joshua and Joseph, they interact that way too. They will share, they will talk, and Josh will invite Joseph to share his perspectives. And they do the RDI for me.
And that's an amazing thing, especially for your oldest Joshua. I see a lot of how you've guided him. I've seen a lot of that actually grow in him in terms of how he is starting to guide not just his brothers, but I think even some of the other people around him.
It was quite amazing how he was telling me that he was doing this study and how it involves perspective sharing and manageable challenges. And this was what you did in RDI. This is the basis of RDI. I said, is it?
Yeah, I
I
think
liked it.
yeah, I think because he was so young when he graduated from the RDI program, he often says he doesn't quite remember what he did. But although he may not remember exactly what he did, I think he remembers your guiding. And that's what we see in
Yes.
him now.
I think that part about guiding, other than us having this open channel of communication, I see the difference when we facilitate the challenges. And I remember those early videos that you can see that smile on his face when he tried something new. And of course, we make it such that it's scaffolded to be manageable for him.
Mm,
But that beam of smile, that delight in being
mm,
able to do something, it was very precious to see. And I
mm,
feel that that continued to propel them to different heights. In fact, that was what the preschool did for Joshua after the breakdown. And he finally went to another school who accepted him. And we had a lot of discussions on how to help him. And they actually set in place a lot of scaffolds, and then they slowly removed bit by bit whenever they feel he's ready. And
mm,
he just took off.
mm.
Yeah. So it's not just at home, but if the school is willing and they also very receptive to the RDI methods, I think it is just exponential.
Yes. One memorable incident that, as you mentioned, about the smile on his face, I will always remember the car wash that you did with him. He was washing car for the first time. And to a lot of people, they'll be like, yeah, wash car. What's the big deal? It's so fun for all kids to play with water. But that was not the case for Joshua. Playing with water would not have been fun for him back then. It was such a significant milestone during that period because I think you probably remember what he went through with
Mm.
water better than anyone else.
He's phobic of water. Even any drop on his face will trigger a huge response.
Mm.
Yeah. I remember that video and Joshua was saying, Mom, why you look so comical? So I exaggerated it. I said, I have to go down to your level to enjoy at your level
Mm,
so that we connect, ma.
mm.
If I were just, oh, good job. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it's not fun, right?
And one of the things we always say, or I've always told families, is don't use good job because it
Mm,
doesn't create that emotional connection. Then it becomes all about the task.
yes, yes. And that's something that I had learned and I hold it even till now. Even
Mm,
when I'm with teachers or students, I mean, I tutor, right? So I will not tell them, oh, good job,
mm,
good, good performance. I will
mm,
always tell them, just be better than what you did last time, or
mm,
do your best.
mm.
Or, hey, I really like that you paid a lot of attention today, The best thing was the student actually told me, Teacher Lee, you made me feel that science is so doable.
Yeah. And that's the amazing part, isn't it? Even as we learn RDI to become better guides to our kids, it translates to other kids as well.
I'm very thankful for that, actually.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, with your second son, whom you mentioned has done RDI for the longest, he's now currently in a young adult group that we conduct for the
Mm.
young adults that are doing RDI. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about his experience going through it, because I'm sure he's talked to you about it. And plus, we have the monthly meetings as well.
I feel that in those meetings, it was good for him. Not only because now the RDI is less on me, but more with others, but it has a different dimension
Mm.
compared to when it's just me and him. It allows him to interact with his peers in a safe setting because it's facilitated in a way, but also he gets to hear the perspectives from other peers, not just his own. He gets to hear other people's reflection, and that invites him to reflect himself and also give him the confidence to share what he reflected on. So there's a lot of opportunities for that dynamic interaction with other peers, which is not easy for him to find on his own, be it in school or in church.
And I think with Joel, one thing I observe is that he is a very deep thinker. He
Mm.
reflects a lot. He will think very carefully even before he gives his thoughts, his opinions, whether it's about himself or whether it's about one of the others in the group.
I think for Joseph, he has become so comfortable that on those days that he cannot make it to the same group, he will ask to go to a different group. And
Yes.
then I will ask him, are you comfortable with a different set of people? Would that stop you from engaging meaningfully? He said, oh no, mom, I'm okay with them. That's what he told me. And I think that is also very important that he has now become confident enough to go different groups and embrace different dynamic kind of interaction. And this is what I hope will continue to translate to his different groups in school, in church, because they will change as he grows. Yeah, so I think this group interaction is really good for him at this phase of his life where it's not so much of hearing me talk, but it's to be open to other people too.
I think one of the things that you mentioned, his confidence, is also such a significant thing to note because I remember the days where he used to hide behind you in the lift, where he was so afraid to even look at people in the lift. And to see this change in him, how do you feel about that? It must be very encouraging and heartening.
It is super comforting because when Joseph was going through very difficult periods in school, and that often will translate into a huge dip in confidence. When he gets bullied in school, we will see him hiding behind me, as you mentioned, or he will just leave the lift. If a neighbor walks into the lift, Joseph will get out. Or when someone hops into a car, Joseph will hide. And that looks very awkward for a teenager to do. Over these few years, we have seen him not only overcoming that, even when he is feeling down or he struggled with internship where the supervisors were hard on him, he learned to cope. He learned to cope. It may not be immediate, but he will learn to cope. He will overcome it in his time. And it's through a lot of talking, a lot of sharing, and a lot of encouragement, be it from me, from you, or from his peers. And of course, one of those very early milestones that I noticed was when he plucked the courage to buy food from Chinese-speaking hawker vendors. And Joseph doesn't speak Chinese, or rather very halting Chinese, because he didn't do mother tongue. He will be very tongue-tied when they speak to him for Chinese. What do you want? 你要什么? And your mom, I'm very stressed. I cannot. But now Joseph often buys food for the whole family. He has a whole list of orders. You want Chinese? I go Chinese food. You want Japanese? I go Japanese food. And he cooks, even when they were nasty or they overcharge him. If he's feeling good, he may ask them. If he doesn't feel so confident, he will tell himself it's okay. I just don't go and buy from him next time. That's what he comes back and tell me. Mom, I think I will not buy from this person because he tends to overcharge me. I will go and look for another one. So instead of I'm not going to buy, he find his way around the problem. And I think that is very, very encouraging to know. And I feel so happy for him because he is no longer hiding in fear when unexpected things happen or when things don't go as planned. So he is definitely he is a lot more stable.
And I think resilience.
Yes, stable and resilient. Even when he just started uni this year and there were a lot of pressure on him to be socially accepted. Self-imposed pressure.
Yes.
But we have many opportunities to talk, be it with me, with his brother, or with you. And we encourage him to do things that regulate him. Again, thanks to RDI with all the regulations, which I think they practice a lot during the group sessions. He is beginning to see the value of doing those things and not being so hard on himself. And most importantly, embracing himself, yeah, as a unique individual. So I think he's come a long way compared to, I would say, 5 years ago when he first transited from special school to mainstream school. Every day he will pace up and down in my room, venting, talking about why is things so different, why is everything so strange. And he just keep walking up and down, up and down, up and down. But now he's able to sit down just having a normal conversation. I don't feel so good about this. Or, today this person. And even that time, remember when we he was sharing with us about the orientation about this
Mm,
person who doesn't want to talk.
yes.
And Joseph actually scaffolded for him. I was like, wow, that's RDI in practice.
Mm.
RDI practice.
Yeah, and that's the amazing thing, right? That even though you all have been the ones guiding them, they in turn are able to use it and support
Yeah.
their peers.
And he didn't even know he was doing that. And then we pointed out to him, you're helping him feel less pressured. Oh, yeah, I think I was doing that. Rather than he's still in silence, what am I going to say? Am I going to feel the gap? He
Mm,
actually went out to discuss something that is easier for the other peer. And I
mm,
thought that was amazing. We can't teach him that.
mm,
It's something that he could only see, reflect. Then he decided I will use it,
mm.
be it subconsciously or not. And I think that's really wonderful. A huge milestone in terms of that RDI learning.
And speaking of how much they have grown and the milestones they've gone through, both your boys are now young adults. So what is life like for them, for each of them now?
For Joshua, of course, he's a busy bee. He actually is often out on social outings. And sometimes I even ask him, how come you have so many social events? He tells me this, Mom, I make it a point to meet up with friends of different groups from different times of my life, be it primary school, secondary school, JC, uni, church. Yeah, he has so many different groups, worship ministry. And he said, I make it a point to stay connected to them. I wanted to treasure them. And now an extra one, the overseas exchange group.
Because
And
that was quite amazing, right? He went overseas on an
mm, yes, he did. And he had a roommate there who he doesn't know anything about. It was a complete stranger, a roommate
Mm.
from Poland. But they became the best of friends. And they had many, many deep conversations together. And the interesting thing was that despite him choosing not to stay within the campus grounds, people just come to his place and they had their own group. And I thought this is so amazing for someone who was diagnosed with autism within 20 minutes in the doctor's clinic. He now has so many friends and like a group of 20 over people from church came to send him off for exchange to pray for him. I didn't know he's that popular. As an adult now, I'm very comforted to see where he is now. He doesn't have a problem with social connections at all for Joseph. Joseph had a lot of challenges as he grew, and friends or peers were not always kind. I think he had it much rougher in terms of school settings, but he emerged from it more resilient. He embraces new challenges now. And even though it's not easy for him to change a group with every 2 years in church, he didn't give up. I remember early this year where he was put into the campus group. Campus group for those who are uni and above. He was telling Mom, I cannot follow them. The way they talk is so strange. Their conversations are fast and they don't stick to the same thing. And I don't understand their jokes. So it sounded so negative.
Mm.
And I was sharing with him, Joseph, give yourself some time. You give yourself some time and maybe things will be different. And he did. He did not give up. He doggedly went for every meeting, even though at the beginning some meetings were very strained because I don't know what to say to you, don't know what to say to me. But he took it in his stride. And I think the last 2 months, he came back and tell me, Mom, I led worship today. And he said, I didn't know how it went, but they said it flowed. It flowed with what was in their hearts. I said, that was wonderful. When you do not try to impress and you're not always thinking about how to make people accept you, it flowed. And he said now he doesn't feel it's beyond him. He was just joining when he feels he wants to. He's quite comfortable where he is now. And I think that has a lot to do with the resilience that RDI has been working on him slowly. I mean, with the years, that part about coping, adjusting, not giving up, I think it stayed with him. Whether he took one day to overcome, whether he take 1 month, whether it takes 6 months, I think the important thing is that he doesn't give up.
So for families who are just starting out, be it on the RDI or autism journey, who are feeling overwhelmed and unsure, what would you say to them?
It's very normal to feel overwhelmed. I did feel that way too. In fact, the hardest part was learning how to speak differently and how to slow down. Instead of telling them what to do, I have to learn to just say it in a way that doesn't demand a response for them. And that was the hardest. At the end of the day, don't give up. Even if we don't make it every week, whatever little we do, it goes a long way. There are periods where I didn't do the weekly videos, where I had very slipshod recordings done. But in between that, there were days too when I managed to do a proper one. One thing about RDI is you may not get to see immediate rewards. It may take years. Like my son took almost 2 years for understanding the body emotions objective. But at the end of the day, everything we do are small little steps to help our child learn to adjust and embrace this dynamic world around them. And not just adjust according to a script, but to embrace it with that mindfulness that RDI talks about a lot. And I don't think this is something that can be easily done over a day or two. It takes a period of time with us as the guide because we are there with them 7 days a week. And I feel that if I approach RDI not with the goal of getting rid of autism, but more of to celebrate every milestone they achieve with them, that will go a long way in taking the pressure off me. At the end of the day, the relationship that RDI had facilitated for us to build with our child, I think that would be lifetime of meaningful emotional connection and trust. And this is something that now, even though I'm not doing active RDI in the sense that I'm doing regular video submissions, I enjoy the rapport I have with my children, and I see the benefits of keeping this channel ongoing. For that, I really had to thank RDI. And one thing that my boys ever mentioned to me, not just one boy, in fact, all 3 boys, I have another younger son, they said was, Mom, I really appreciate that you do not put a goal or task for us to achieve in our school years, but rather you always encourage us to just do what we can and we celebrate every improvement that we make. Even if we didn't improve, it is never a huge issue. And I think without RDI reminding us to slow down, and Jen, remember that poem we have? To slow down and smell the flowers. Yeah, that's something that I remember even 20 years on, because it is so important for me to remind myself not to get sucked into this. I need to achieve this. I need to reach this next milestone. Rather, I just want to see them embrace themselves and their own identity and to feel confident in facing the world. It will be hard at the beginning because we're not used to it, but at the end of it, with the ongoing work with them, whatever we can do, whether it's a little bit or a lot, it doesn't matter. It's all the little stones that we're going to build for them for this lifetime of connection.
Very well said. One final question for parents and professionals who are thinking about starting on this RDI journey. what is one piece of advice or one thought you would like to share with them?
Wow, I don't know how to speak for professionals, but maybe I will speak from a parent's point of view or when I interact with professionals. Parents that embark on this journey, we are all desperate parents and we all love our children very much. The best thing that can have happen to us is to have an RDI consultant who really has the heart to walk with us on this journey. And it's not just for short term, but an ongoing. Just how long have I been with you, Jen?
Through both sons.
20 years. I can't believe it. But it is very comforting for us as parents to know that you are there to guide us. So RDI is like you are the guide and we are the apprentice. And in turn, we become the guide for our children who are the apprentice. So for anyone who wants to do RDI as a consultant, you have a big role. You have really a big role and you are a very precious support to parents, especially at the beginning, because we need a lot of guidance. We need a lot of encouragement. We also need to feel that we are not condemned. That is the part that I would say from a parent's perspective for RDI consultants. For parents, take a deep breath and let's go. It can be very overwhelming at the beginning. I remember carrying the computer everywhere I go. Even on the bus, I'll be doing video editing. But once you have that relationship with your child, things will just fall into place. It's like Joseph previously will fight with me for 1 hour just to go whether to turn left or turn right. But once we cross that hurdle, he will just follow me. Not because I forced him or I dangle a carrot. Sometimes the carrots don't work anymore as they grow, right? But because I am his mom, the RDI parent, and he knows that I care for him and only want the best for him. And he has learned through RDI that I can be trusted. This kind of relationship, I feel, is very difficult to do without that desire to want the best for our children. And RDI helps us to do it without us cracking our head on what we need to do. It's more or less scaffolded for us. Each milestone, each challenge, we are never alone. Our consultant is there to help us. It might be difficult, but just approach it with a dogged mindfulness. Just do it. I cannot say anything more. It's just do it. And the rewards you get at the end of the day is irreplaceable.
Thank you, Chiern Chieh. Those were very inspiring words. Thank you again for taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. I mean, if I may add, I have not always been doggedly doing. I don't always carry the videos with me. In fact, there was periods where I am burnt out and I didn't want to do anything. But because of the foundation set in the earlier years, I was able to just cruise on it until the time where I can come back. So that's the whole beautiful part about RDI. It's not like once I stop, the whole thing stops. The foundation that has been set and the relationship that has been built doesn't disappear overnight or over a month or two or even over a year. So that's the whole beauty of RDI.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Shared Steps, the RDI Journey. If you found today's conversation meaningful, I'd love for you to follow or subscribe so you won't miss the next episode. And if you know a parent or professional who might benefit from understanding RDI a little deeper, please share this podcast with them. Every small step helps us spread awareness across Southeast Asia and beyond. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to having you with me in the next episode.